This video covers the basics of defining and updating dashboards. Dashboards consist of content and security. The content are a series of dashlets that are associated to one or more dashboards. There are 4 types of dashlets. To access them in your Intalio Designer app, go to Development Tools and Reporting. There you'll see, in addition to dashboards, the 4 types of dashlets: chart dashlets, tracking dashlets, view dashlets, and web content dashlets. First, let's take a look at chart dashlets. Chart dashlets are simply dashlets that refer to charts in the system. In our example here, we've got a chart dashlet that we call average annual profits, and it refers to the chart called average annual profits. Please note that the charts that you pick should be made public because they'll be viewed in the dashboard by more than one person. There's no other parameters to set. Once you have the chart, you can add it to your dashboard, and multiple people can view that chart graphically and can drill down to its underlying list view. To create a new chart dashlet, simply go to your chart dashlet screen, hit the plus sign, enter your new dashlet name, and pick from one of the charts in the system. Save that, and you've got a dashlet that you can now add to your dashboards. The next dashlet type is the tracking dashlet. When you mark a column as tracking enabled in a list view, Intalio stores the value of that tracking over time. It can then display this tracking information in a tracking dashlet, showing trends and values relative to goals. You define the logic of a tracking dashlet through its associated tracking object. In the tracking definition, you can define the frequency that the system calculates the value, whether the user can manually force a recalculation. You can define targets and thresholds, as well as messages for those various thresholds, and of course the code behind the calculation. This code can be simple, or in other cases, can be more complex code. And in fact, in addition to looking at data within the system, you can go external and get periodic data and graph that in your tracking dashlet. Use the code in existing tracking objects as examples to help you build your code in your custom trackings. The next type of dashlet are view dashlets. View dashlets are simply dashboard components that show list views. For example, if we want to create a new view dashlet, we can give it a name, and then we can pick a view that exists in the system. In this case, we'll pick accounts. You pick the number of columns to display. This will display the first X number of columns, and then the number of rows to display. We save that, and then we've got a new view dashlet that we can add on our dashboards to display lists of information. For example, this list view dashlet contains open cases and lists the first 5 columns. I can sort by the columns, and I can drill into this view to see the detail records and act on them. The last dashlet type is the web content dashlet. A web content dashlet is simply a dashlet that refers to a URL. When displayed in a dashboard, the dashboard shows it as an iframe that encapsulates the content of the URL. If the contents are larger than the maximum allowed window size, the dashlet has the appropriate scroll bars. You can use web content dashlets to integrate with third-party applications and information that is available by URL. In addition to these 4 standard dashlet types, a dashlet can also be a free-form snippet. A snippet is free-form code that you can use to have very complicated logic and complicated information to help display both information and actions exactly as how you would like it. For example, this task dashlet is built from a snippet. Use existing snippets as examples as you build your own custom dashlets. Now it's time to build a new dashboard. From our menu, we'll go into Dashboards. We'll use the plus sign, and we'll enter a dashboard name. Then we'll save. We then go to the Relations tab, and here we can see all the different types of dashlets that we can add in the different areas. A dashboard has two different areas: the role type, which is the top and reserved for tracking dashlets, and the grid, which is the rest of the dashboard. In this case, we'll go into our chart relations, and we'll go ahead and add our new chart dashlet. We'll add mark rows and hit done. We'll go back. We'll add tracking dashlets at the role level. Add mark records. Hit done. Hit back to see the whole list. And we will add a web content dashlet. Hit back. And then finally, we'll add a view dashlet. So now we've defined the dashboard and its contents. Now we have to determine its access. First of all, we have to associate it with one or more applications. In this case, we'll pick Intalio ALM. We'll mark done, and we'll go back. Now we can either make the dashboard available to anyone who has access to the given applications, or we can mark it private and save to restrict the access. In this case, right now, no one can see the dashboard other than system administrators, so we need to share it with appropriate individuals. We'll go to our sharing screen, we'll hit add, we'll put a new recipient. In this case, rather than individual users, we'll go ahead and give it to the developer role, as well as the engineering manager role. We will save that. And so now we've given access to the dashboard in terms of application and in terms of individuals, roles, users, and groups. Now if we log out and then log back in, the change takes effect. And if we go into our Intalio ALM application, we'll see we've got the new dashboard. And as we click on it, we'll find all the pieces that we added: view dashlets, chart dashlets, web content dashlets, and tracking dashlets.